everyone. Welcome back to another episode with the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
Hey, my name's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. You look cute as a button.
Aw, thank you.
It's just every day something cuter about you. I don't know if it's those frownies you're using or all the smattering of pills or the powders that we make every night and everything.
Powders.
Well, there's the nightly, go to sleep potion that you make.
I'll make you a potion.
You should make me a potion.
I'll slip it in your coffee.
Yeah, speaking of coffee, I am enjoying the heck out of my new Ninja Deluxe. What's it called? Ninja Cafe? Cafe
Lux, is it?
Yeah, I think if you type Cafe Lux Ninja coffee, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my first espresso machine ever. We had the Nespresso, but that's, I guess, not like a real espresso machine.
Well, yours is actually grinding the beans right as it's being used. It's kind of like if you're in a coffee shop, it's got that contraption that you stick under and then you tamp it down. So it's like a little coffee puck.
Yeah, we're learning all these new terms.
It's pretty legit.
The thing that you tamp down or whatever is in the portafilter, I think it's called. It's like I'm like a barista now. I'm now getting it because I asked for it for my birthday. I knew I'd be getting myself into making lattes for the family, which it has happened just me and you so far, right?
Our son was making something yesterday morning for school. I come out at like 5 o'clock in the morning to get my workout done so I could start my day. And he's been up since 4:30 based on the cameras in our house. And he's like, "Oh, Ma, can you finish making my coffee?" I was like, "No, you've got like 2 hours before you have to go to school. I got to get my workout done."
You're a big boy.
I don't know what he did to it. He screwed it up, but it's actually really quite easy to make. So if you were interested in, getting yourself a really good espresso maker at a reasonable price, I would definitely suggest it.
It's $500, so it's not cheap.
Well, when I say reasonable, I'm not meaning that it's inexpensive. I mean in comparison to some of the different things out there that could be thousands.
Yeah, Breville is another brand out there that does it. This is does a good job. It's not an advertisement. They don't pay us.
We're not getting sponsored. It's just something we've been using. Mike got it as his birthday present. I don't know. Did you mention that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So good stuff. So what else is going on?
We're going to be getting new chairs if you're watching us on YouTube. I'm actually in my office chair right now, whereas Mike's in our other chairs.
And real quick, you might ask yourself, guys, you just got new chairs. And we did. And unfortunately, Allison saw a video of herself. Go ahead.
I did. So Mike brings me into the office to show me some video that AI put together. And I didn't even pay attention whatsoever to the content of the video. All I could focus on was the horror of what I saw in my posture. I looked like a hunched over pregnant troll.
I like your little pooch belly. It's cute.
Don't ever say that again.
Yeah, it's and then we got new microphones, and Allison's learning how to use microphones again. It looks like it's like I'm trying to point it right at your mouth.
I have to be able to read my screen, you half-wit.
Oh, yeah, so you keep pointing it away, and it's moving away from your mouth, so it's not picking it up. That's okay. That's
so we're trying to get used to our new microphones. We're going to be getting new chairs, so we got some changes coming on over here at the Crime and Coffee Couple.
Yeah. Please bear with us. A really fun story, fun for everybody else, but me. I want to bring up. I was working the other day, and we were on a Zoom call, and it was going really well. Yeah, I was listening to it through my phone, so because I was walking around the house doing some stuff, and we were just like chit chatting, whatever. It's like my team of 8 or 9. And so I come to my desk. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get this on the actual computer. So I log in on the computer and shut off the phone thing. And I see everybody on the computer. I'm just sitting there and taking some notes and stuff, doing whatever. And, sometimes you get a little bug. You get a little booger in your nose. A little bat in the cave? Yeah, a little bat in the cave. So I'm getting at it with like a finger. And I was like, and I thought to myself, uh-oh. And when I switched from my phone to my computer, I hope my camera wasn't on. And I look up and there's all my teammates and there's me looking at me in the face. And I was like, okay, good. Well, luckily my boss, he was the main one talking and he was on the main screen. But I quickly texted one of my friends. I'm like, hey, pretty embarrassing that I just picked my nose on the screen. And I was waiting for his reply. He's like, yep, saw that. I was like, oh, God.
I would have crawled under a hole and died.
Then one of my other friends, I texted her. I'm like, hey, did you see that? She's like, no, I didn't see it. I'm not even looking at the screen right now. So I was like,
so that's your only hope.
I hope.
Maybe some people weren't looking at the screen or at your face in particular, but maybe we need to get you. Oh, there is a box of tissues next to your desk. I see. So maybe next time, instead of digging out the bats in the cave with your finger, maybe grab some tissues like a civilized human being.
Is that what people do?
I mean, I try to for
Okay,
the
let's
majority
be
of the
honest.
time. If we're going to all be real, sure, we've all fished up in there with our fingers.
Yeah, because it's like there, it's like, what? Okay, well, let me get a utensil that's not as easy to use. It's like, purposely grabbing for chopsticks when you have a fork right there.
But it's like when you're driving and you're looking in your rearview mirror and the guy next or behind you is like got his fist up there.
Yeah,
It's
all the
like,
way up to the wrist.
hello, you're in a fish tank. People can see you.
Yeah, but what if it's like, you know what? I need to get this done here. As long as he's not eating them, I mean, it's not me and it's not
Did you eat your booger?
not on screen. No, not on the camera.
Okay. Do
I'm just
you eat
kidding.
your boogers?
Okay, let's not talk about this anymore, Allison. I'm sure we're disgusting a lot of people here.
All right. So on that note, are you ready to jump into this?
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there as letting you guys know that, I'm not even close to somebody who's cool at all. So I pick my nose on screen.
That's okay. If you've been listening for a while, you probably know that we aren't very cool, but that's all right.
Yeah,
we
I'm ready to go.
We are.
Let's do this.
All right. So this is the murder of Jasmine Pace. And at the time of her disappearance, this happened in November of 2022, Jasmine, or Jazzy Pace, as she was known by her family, was a 22-year-old community college student that was living in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And those that knew and loved the petite girl, she stood at just 5'2". They described her as having a personality that far exceeded her physical stature. And she was said to be fiercely loyal to those that she loved. She was exceptionally reliable, always placed her family members at the center of her life. And she adored her two nieces as well as her godson. She's only 22 years old at this time, but she hoped that down the line, she herself would one day become a mother. So that was all in the cards for her. The possibilities of a young person, they're endless. The whole world is their oyster, as I like to say. So she was a lover of animals as well, and she had 4 cats that she just adored. But at this time in her life, she was struggling because her grandmother, who had actually helped raise her, was actively dying of cancer. So it was a very sad time for Jasmine and her family. So Jasmine's parents, this is Katrina Bean and Travis Pace, and by now they were divorced. And they were unaware of the fact that their daughter was actually in a relationship with a man that she had met through a popular dating app. The speculation is that it was Tinder, just because Tinder comes back up later on. So this person is Jason Chen, and he was a first-generation Chinese-American immigrant. He was studying computer science at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And it was later determined that the relationship was on again, off again, and some of the sources that I referred to, they were described as tumultuous, so not exactly copacetic. Is that a cool word, copacetic?
Yeah, and that works.
Okay, so apparently they met sometime in 2021, but they fizzled out. They rekindled things somewhere around mid-2022. So despite the fact that they had been seeing each other for, the past several months, they'd picked back up in their conversation and texting and seeing each other, Jasmine wasn't quite ready to introduce him to her family. So because she kept this relationship under wraps, it's really not clear what the actual true dynamic was of their relationship, how they interacted as a couple, and that will really forever be locked in mystery because it wasn't out in the open.
So there weren't like friends that knew this or anything. It was just kind of
no.
They knew each other. That's like what we know.
Yeah, they knew each other and they were talking and seeing each other.
Mm-hmm.
So when Jasmine suddenly vanished in the days before Thanksgiving, of course I said this is 2022, investigators were left to follow digital breadcrumbs that were left behind, and thank goodness that they were left behind. But it did lead to the fact that Jasmine had met a horrific end in her life. So Jasmine maintained her normal family life, her interactions as typical, because like I said, she was very family oriented. And this all happened as normal right up until 2 days before Thanksgiving. This was Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. And that night, Jasmine was grief-stricken because her grandmother, like I said, who had raised her, she had been rushed to the hospital that night and she sadly later died. So Katrina watched as her daughter climbed into her white Chevy Equinox. This was at around 11:30 p.m. that Tuesday. And at that point in time, she obviously had no way of knowing that her child was headed toward a violent end.
No.
So earlier that Tuesday evening, Jasmine had texted her mom about the fact that she was going to stay at her friend's house. This is Emma. She was going to stay there for the rest of the week. And Katrina did find this a little odd since it was the week of Thanksgiving, the holidays, and Jasmine was very family oriented. So it was unlikely, though, that she would ever skip Thanksgiving. She could be staying with her friend Emma, but she'd still come to Thanksgiving.
Sure.
So when Thanksgiving now is rolling around, this is Thursday, November 24th, Jasmine did not arrive for her family's gathering. And obviously, that was immediately concerning because it's a huge holiday, it's out of character. So their worry only grew when they came across a strange Facebook post that was on Jasmine's account. It, according to all my research, was posted on Saturday, November 26th. And the caption read, "Enjoying Thanksgiving with my baby." And the post featured a photo, and in it, Jasmine was wearing a sexy black lingerie piece. And immediately, this was very concerning to the family for a number of reasons. First of all, Jasmine was not likely to have ever posted a photo in her revealing outfit.
So this would be basically like you, like somebody like you posting something, which Allison's very, very conservative and just kind of, yeah. I mean, you look at her, you're a little cutie and not putting that kind of stuff out there.
I would never post a photo online of myself, and no judgment to anyone. It's just out of character. But
right.
I would never be
for sure. That's not that
featured in a photo in lingerie. Not ever. Not ever. So right away, it's like, what the heck is this? On top of that, they could tell that this was an old photo because she was lacking her very distinctive and obvious tattoos.
Oh.
And these were down her right shoulder and arm. And it also didn't sound like the verbiage she would typically use. She also tagged friends in her post, and this was also something that was not typical for her.
That's something like a lot of people don't think about. It's like there's a way everybody talks. And if you're getting a text from somebody and it's not really them sending it, like you can tell right away. You might not be able to put your finger on it, but just us as humans, we're able to recognize these things that, how people communicate.
Absolutely. So there were alarm bells sounding all around in this case. And in the meantime, Jasmine is nowhere to be found. So Jasmine's family was immediately alarmed by this entire situation. She, number one, wasn't the type of person to blow off her family without contacting them, especially during a major holiday. They were also completely unaware that she was even dating someone at this point in time, let alone the fact that she hadn't told her parents about this relationship, but then she's going to take to Facebook and say, "Spending Thanksgiving with my baby."
Yeah. Like, I mean, at the very least, you'd be like, "Hey, I can't make it this year, whatever. And I'll catch back up." Some kind of communication at the very least.
Right.
And then just weird post.
And then even more concerning, like I said, the photo was clearly not taken during this time frame. And it was clear because of these tattoos that she had gotten over a various amount of time. So it proved that this photo that was used in this post was likely many months old.
Well, your first inclination is going to contact Jason and be like, "What's going on, dude?"
They don't know about Jason.
Oh, is he not tagged on there?
I don't think he was tagged.
She's the only one in there.
Yes.
Okay.
He was not featured in this post.
I was picturing like both of them, but
right.
Yeah,
And that's another thing. Wouldn't you expect if somebody was posting "Spending Thanksgiving with my baby" that it would be a photo of her with him?
Yeah.
No. So immediately alarmed by Jasmine's absence at Thanksgiving dinner, paired with this suspicious post, Katrina began tracking her daughter's location. So what she utilized was her My Chevy app, and this allowed her to monitor the location of Jasmine's Equinox. So with this, she was able to determine that Jasmine's car was parked at a location that was unknown to both Katrina and, as far as she knew, Jasmine. And this was the Signal View condominiums off Mountain Creek Road in Chattanooga. So when the Pace family drove out to this spot and they looked at Jasmine's car on Saturday, November 26th, they found that the driver's seat was pushed back to the point that Jasmine was not driving the car at that time, the last person to drive the car. It's kind of like after Mike gets in my car and I go to get in, I can't even start the car with the push button. I have to scoot myself up to the front of my seat in order to start the car.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost a foot taller.
Right, so it's very obvious that Jasmine was not the last person to have driven her car. So who had? So it's just another layer of concern in this case. So during this time, Katrina also took a close look at her daughter's phone records to see if maybe she could put the pieces together of what had been going on. So they had a shared plan, and she's noticing a number that she doesn't recognize that happened on Tuesday, November 22nd. This is the last time Katrina saw her daughter, and that Jasmine had taken or had participated in a conversation that lasted 71 minutes.
Oh, so this, she knows this person very well.
Right. They had a lot to say. It was an hour and 11 minutes. So she decides to call this number, and a man that she doesn't know picks up, and this is Jason Chen. So she's asking him about her interaction, or about his interaction, I should say, with Jasmine. And he's saying, we only talked for a few minutes that night.
Hey, dumbass, I have it right here that it was
Right.
70 minutes.
So yet again, another layer of concern that she is looking at a black and white phone log that does not lie. This is telling the truth. Yet this man is saying a few minutes versus 71 minutes.
Yep.
And on top of that, he did not seem concerned at all when she said, I can't find my daughter. She's missing and I'm trying to find her. He seemed very casual about the fact that Jasmine was missing.
Like losing a remote. It's like, oh, yeah, she'll turn up.
Exactly. So when the Pace family went on to contact investigators, they seemed very unconcerned about the fact that Jasmine was missing. And they basically told them, well, she is a legal adult and she probably just went off somewhere and didn't tell you.
And how many times do we hear that from law enforcement? And obviously, most of the time that's probably true. But
Most of the time
they know
is.
Jasmine.
Right. So regardless, the family was not going to be deterred by what investigators were doing, or I should say not doing, so they continued with their own detective work. So after they went on to obtain surveillance video from the Signal View condo complex, because of course that's all they have at this time other than the 71-minute conversation with Jason Chen. So they find her car parked at this location. Again, it's not familiar to them. They don't think their daughter knows this. She doesn't have any friends that live in this place. Why the hell is her car left here? So they get a hold of the people who are in charge of the condo complex. They get this video, and this showed Jasmine's SUV entering the parking lot at about 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday. This is November 23rd. This is the day after they last saw Jasmine, but the day before Thanksgiving when she did not show up. So unfortunately, the video wasn't very clear, so they really couldn't make out the details of the driver. So they're basically getting more and more information about what is happening here. So Katrina also saw that Jasmine sent her a random pinned location. This came through at 2:18 a.m. on Wednesday morning. This is 3 hours after she left Katrina's house, her mom. So this pin led them to the apartments at 110 Tremont Street. So now they've got a couple locations, where her car was and now where her location was. Yeah. So Katrina and Travis were determined to get inside Unit 210. Despite the fact that their knocks at the door had gone unanswered. So it seemed to them that whoever lived at this apartment was not there, but they said, you know what? I'm getting inside this damn apartment.
It's like you got to take it into your own hands. If you wait for like the right way to go about things, and I'm not saying always break the law, but like this is your daughter, and they're
right.
Man, I don't blame them.
Their daughter's missing. They've already contacted investigators. Investigators don't seem very concerned. So now they know that their daughter was at the spot because she sent a pin location. So they decide to use a credit card to get inside this apartment, and it worked. So once inside, they came across a notebook, and it indicated the occupant's name. Whose apartment do you think this is?
Jason Chen.
Jason Chen. So immediately, Katrina's like, okay, this name has come up twice now. So in the same sense, they are looking around his apartment further, and they're coming across some of Jasmine's items that prove that she was inside this apartment.
Oh, it sucks so bad. You're like, I'm kind of holding out hope, and this is not looking really good.
It is not looking good. So they're coming across Jasmine's driver's license, her credit cards, as well as a travel bag that she owned. So they noticed that there were also cleaning products out in plain sight, which indicated that he had utilized these products. Okay, did maybe he just clean his apartment? Of course, we're all cleaning here and there.
Yeah, or is he covering up a bloody murder?
Exactly. So armed with this information, the Pace family went back to police, and this time they decided to take things more seriously.
They're like, hey, we may have gotten more information. We're not saying we did, but we're not saying we didn't. And here's what we found. So
after police obtained a search warrant for this unit, it was close to midnight, and their findings were very concerning. They were indicative of a grim outcome. So there were blood stains located throughout the unit, including the living room floor, the bathroom grout, the bedroom carpet had a huge stain of blood on it. There was blood splatter on the doors and walls. So inside this bedroom where I said there was a lot of blood, it wasn't immediately obvious because the bed had been moved over the blood stains. And then, of course, you know how it is. If there's carpet in the room and furniture has been moved, there's going to be markings that prove that.
Yeah.
So the markings on the floor all painted a picture that this bed had been moved in order to cover the blood. So then investigators utilized Blue Star forensic agent. This helps illuminate where blood has been cleaned up. And the hallway that led to the front door lit up like a Christmas tree. It proved that whoever had been participating in this had tried desperately to clean up the evidence. So there were also weird things around the place. There was sticky notes of various colors and sizes, some that had written notes, some had drawings, but they detailed Jasmine's childhood. And apparently there had been some like ups and downs in her childhood, including times that she had run away, a period of homelessness, a time that she had fled to Canada. And why would he have written these things on Post-it notes and stuck them to his apartment walls?
Yeah, definitely strange.
Just odd. So when detectives utilized surveillance video from the apartment complex as well as the surrounding areas, this allowed them to place the pieces of the puzzle together regarding Jasmine's last movements. So Jasmine's car, they could see it entering the apartment parking lot on Tremont Street just before midnight on Tuesday, November 22nd. This is shortly after she left her mom's house, so odds are she headed straight over there. So approximately at 8:30 p.m. the following day, this is Wednesday, November 23rd, a figure wearing a light-colored hoodie could be seen getting into Jasmine's SUV, traveling from Jason Chen's building to the Signal View condos where Jasmine's car had been abandoned. And then a dark-colored Prius came to pick this person up. Police obviously are deducing this person who is driving Jasmine's car to be Jason Chen.
Sure.
So this Prius drove from the condos back to his apartment complex, and investigators determined that the driver of the Prius had nothing to do with this case. It was likely a hired rideshare driver.
Uber, yeah.
Right. So footage from a Ring camera then captured Jason leaving his building multiple times throughout that Wednesday, including at 8:27 p.m. This is when he moved Jasmine's car. So he had also driven to Walmart. He entered the store at 10:44 a.m., and while he was here, he purchased Band-Aids, peroxide, as well as various cleaning products.
Some bleach, some gloves, all sorts of things, I'm sure.
Right. And oddly, several of these items he had scanned into because he used the self-checkout lane, and he somehow entered them into the system as asparagus. So he checked out at 10:58 a.m., and according to cell phone data, Jasmine's phone accompanied Jason on this trip to Walmart. But when they reviewed the surveillance footage from the store, it was clear that he was there by himself. So obviously, he was carrying Jasmine's phone in his pockets. So he made a later stop at Walgreens. This happened at 1:41 p.m., and here he purchased paper towels. During this visit, he was driving Jasmine's car. His phone pinged at this location, while Jasmine's phone did not. So at 3:50 p.m., when both Jason and Jasmine's phones pinged in the downtown area, they were together with Jason. This then at 4:03, he's in the same area and he's texting Jasmine's phone, asking if they were still on for dinner that night. So it's very obvious what he's doing at this point in time. He's trying to make it look like he's just innocent and he's just checking in on her. Hey, we still gonna have dinner tonight?
Setting up the alibi.
So despite the fact that he ended up deleting these text messages themselves, investigators were able to view screenshots of these conversations. So this later proved that Jason sent these messages to Jasmine's phone after a time that she was believed to be deceased. And he sent another text saying, "Slept like a baby." And then, like I said, he sent the, "Hey, are we still good for dinner tonight?" So at 4:08 p.m., data from both Jason and Jasmine's phones were now on Suck Creek Road. And this road runs along the Tennessee River, and this later became a very crucial part of the case in terms of finding Jasmine's remains. So from here, he went back home at 5:08 p.m., and here he remained for about an hour until approximately 6 p.m. when he was seen now leaving his apartment, and he was struggling to pull a large suitcase from his building to the parking lot. And then you could see his black Toyota Camry leaving the area. I will tell you, Jasmine was a tiny girl. She was, like I said, 5'2", somewhere around 98 pounds, so very little. So when Jasmine's phone was analyzed, investigators also found a photo of Jasmine that was taken on the night of her disappearance that just proved that he was with her that night.
Right.
So Jason was arrested on Tuesday, November 29th at his parents' house 3 hours away in Nolensville. And it was at this location that Jasmine's SIM card was found. It was hidden in a glasses case inside Jason's backpack.
Not looking good for Jason.
Not at all. So when he was apprehended, police also noticed an injury to his right palm that was consistent with knife slippage. Of course, at this point in time, they don't have Jasmine's remains. They don't know what her fate was. So his parents, this is Xu Fang and Ming Yong Chen, they were later accused of harboring their son and obstructing justice. So they went on to reach a confidential settlement with Katrina, who later filed a $17 million wrongful death lawsuit against the family, which accused them of knowingly hiding a murderer.
Nice, good.
And I keep referring to this case, but I just think of Brian Landry's family. Like, they were harboring someone that killed Gabby Petito, yet to this day, I don't think anything's happened to them. I'm like,
it's crazy. It's like, how does that a lot? I mean, they feel terrible, because it's their son and he killed somebody. It's like, well, what would we all do in that situation? But you know what? You're part of society and you gotta face the music.
Right. You have to think of the fact that you're wanting to protect your child, but he's done something terrible to someone else's child.
Yeah.
So Jason was initially taken to a jail in Franklin, Tennessee, but he was later transferred to Hamilton County, where he was held without bond. Now, I believe that changes, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So in response to his arrest, Katrina Bean, of course, this is Jasmine's mom, she posted to Facebook because she had been very active in the days when Jasmine was missing about, have you seen her, posting photos of her, et cetera, et cetera. So she was basically thanking the community for the outpouring of love and support that they had received. And she wrote, "I ask that our community and everyone that has been affected by this horrific event, everyone that has a daughter, a sister, a mother, a grandmother, can sympathize with what we are being forced to process." She also shared a video of Jasmine, and in this video, it was very sweet. She was cradling her young niece in the kitchen, and she was singing to her. And Katrina wrote that this was a picture, a glimpse of the real Jasmine, just super tender and sweet.
Yeah.
So evidence proved that Jason had been the one to post to Jasmine's Facebook, as everyone suspected. This post that was very uncharacteristic of Jasmine. Obviously, she didn't post it. It was Jason who done this. So he also accessed. Thank you. He accessed her banking information in order to create the illusion that she was still alive and well, just like he was texting her phone to create this illusion, despite the fact that as all this was happening, her body was laying dead inside his apartment.
It's like all these digital breadcrumbs, like you mentioned earlier. It's like they're going to figure it out, man. It's like, I mean, I guess if he's logging in from her phone and then, and trying to do all these things, I get where he was coming from. But at this day and age, come on.
Well, we always say at this point in time, it's getting to the point, thank goodness, that it's impossible to commit a crime and get away with it because of all the cameras and digital information that we have.
And unfortunately, it's not going to stop the psychopaths.
Right. So that's just the point. They're not going to stop killing. It's just they're going to get caught. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
So utilizing Jason's digital trail, like I reflected earlier, this brought investigators to the banks of the Tennessee River off of Suck Creek Road, where his phone was traveling. And it is here that they came across a suitcase. And as I said before, that image was seen from Jason's apartment where he was struggling with the suitcase and pulling away from his apartment. And tragically, this is where Jasmine's body was found. She was naked from the waist up, wrapped in 3 garbage bags, still restrained with handcuffs. And it sickens me so much to think that this person dumped this human being as if she was a piece of garbage.
Yeah, and she's so tiny, you said under 100 pounds, like 90 pounds, and oh man, this poor little girl.
It's just disgusting.
I know she's a woman, but it's just, it's so terribly sad.
So after his arrest, Jason's bond was then set at $5 million. So this was something that became controversial within the community, given the fact that, this was a horrifically violent crime, that this person should not be able to have the opportunity to get out. He didn't, but still.
I don't know where bond even comes from. Like if somebody wants to comment in the comment section, be like, how do they come up with bonds? Like who decides that? Is it like the person's net worth? I don't know. I don't want to get too far off track here.
Well, some cases they're held without bond, that there's zero opportunity. And that's if they're a risk to flee the area or harm someone else.
Right.
So in this case, it was determined, I suppose, that he wasn't.
Okay.
So regardless, people thought that this was ridiculous because of the nature of the crime.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's obviously some kind of crime of passion, right? It's not like he's a serial killer going around and doing things.
That's usually,
as far as we know. So
right.
like I would imagine in this case, if what you're saying is true, then I could see the bond.
So by this point, investigators had evidence that established a solid timeline of events for the trial that really just recently happened. This happened in January of 2025. This was a little over 2 years after Jasmine's murder. So because of the publicity of this case, jury members ended up being brought in from Nashville for the trial that began on January 13th, 2025. So during the first day of the trial, jurors were stunned when the defense attorney, this is Josh Wise, he stood and made the statement of guilt. And he said, Jason Chen killed Jasmine Pace.
Okay.
So there was no denying that. We know Jason killed Jasmine, but this was a strategy. Good
You got
Lord. Excuse me. So this was a strategy aimed at reducing his charges. They were hoping, instead of first-degree premeditated murder, they were hoping to get voluntary manslaughter. So these were two charges that carried different sentences. First-degree premeditated murder would likely result in life in prison without parole. That would depend on the jury's decision. Whereas in Tennessee, a conviction for voluntary manslaughter carries a maximum sentence of 15 years as well as a $10,000 fine.
Aren't these plea deals usually done before it gets to court? Like, you know.
There is no plea deal here.
Right, I know, but it's like usually these things are figured out beforehand.
Like pleading guilty and such?
Yeah. It's like, well, here's the thing. If you plead guilty, we'll get you this charge. If you don't, then this. And it's like, usually it's not like in the court where it's like a surprise. Like the defense lawyer is like, hey, well, you know what? We're going to plead guilty and see how this goes.
So they wanted the jury to decide if this was premeditated first degree versus voluntary manslaughter. Is that what? Yeah, voluntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
So over the course of 6 days, the prosecution presented a combination of physical evidence, witness testimony, and digital forensics. And this gave jurors a picture of the horrific details of Jasmine's final moments before we know that she was brutally murdered. So it all started on Tuesday, November 22nd, after she left her mom's home in Chattanooga. This was just before 11:30. She drove her white Equinox to Jason's apartment at 110 Tremont Street. She arrived at 11:42 p.m. and she headed up to Unit 210 where Jason lived. And this was inside a small open concept apartment with the kitchen situated only feet away from the living room. And then the hallway extended to the only bedroom that was in the unit. So according to later court testimony, Jason Chen's downstairs neighbor, this is Courtney Brewer, she was startled awake by a woman's screams during the middle of the night on Wednesday morning. And after hearing these female screams as well as cries, she heard footsteps then running in the direction of the front door, and then what sounded like the front door slamming. So Courtney indicated that she grabbed her phone at that moment in order to call 911, and when she did, this is how she noted the time to be 2:11 a.m. But then the situation quieted down, things got calm, so she just decided not to call the police. So days after Courtney heard the commotion from the upstairs apartment, she saw a missing persons poster on social media with Jasmine's information. And she noted that this post said that her last her last known location was at Jason Chen's apartment. So of course she's thinking back to what she heard in the middle of the night.
Yeah, very important witness.
Right, so she reached out to police and she sat for an interview and gave a statement. And she indicated that about an hour after she heard the screams, cries, and running, she heard the sounds of the garbage disposal running as well as the washing machine going at the same time. So, of course, we know that 7 minutes after she heard the screaming, Jasmine had texted her mom this pin location where her device was at that moment, which was in Jason's apartment. So Katrina later indicated that her daughter had never done such a thing like this in the past, especially not during the middle of the night. And based on the evidence from this case, it's likely that Jasmine sent this pin to her mom's phone in just this desperate moment when she knew that she was in danger, likely just sending an attempt for help.
Like, here's where you're going to find my body.
But everything then just happened so quickly. So Dr. Stephen Cogswell from the Hamilton County Medical Examiner's Office conducted Jasmine's autopsy. He testified during the trial. He determined that Jasmine had been stabbed no less than 60 times. And the wounds were concentrated primarily to the upper left side of her body. And the wounds were in an area that was localized to the space of no larger than a sheet of paper. So very focused.
So like shoulder or chest area, basically.
Right.
Huh.
And the doctor determined that she had been curled into a fetal position in an attempt to protect herself from this frenzied attack. So based on the lack of defensive wounds to her body, Dr. Cogswell deduced that Jasmine had likely been restrained before she had been attacked, because of course she would have been holding up her arms to block the stab wounds.
Right.
So he indicated that these handcuffs that were utilized were not professional law enforcement grade. They had, though, been strong enough to mostly hold her. So how she had been restrained was her right arm was shackled to her right ankle and her left ankle was linked to her right elbow. So only her left hand was allowed free. So one of the chains of the handcuffs were broken, which likely happened during her struggle. And this allowed her partial freedom. So what I thought of was the blue star that illuminated in the hallway. And when I looked at photos, you could almost see the footprints that ran towards the front door. And based on what the neighbor below, I should say, heard, Jasmine would have ran to the front door and then tried to get out, but then Jason was probably behind her and then closed it.
Yeah, slammed it.
So obviously she had to have been free enough to be able to run to the front door. But based on the time when all of these horrific stab wounds happened, she was likely restrained at that point. So the knife used in her attack was actually found embedded in Jasmine's chest. After it entered her lung, the tip of the knife snapped off at the rib. Investigators believe that the weapon had been sitting on Jason's nightstand after he utilized it to remove a seal from a wine bottle based on the evidence that was present. And, it would have been there innocently. He used it to open the wine, the foil, thank you, that earlier that evening. So the medical examiner determined a heartbreaking detail that Jasmine had not died quickly. Rather, it would have likely have taken about 5 to 10 minutes for her to pass away.
Man, that's crazy with all those stab wounds. You got to think he was going after her heart or something. Like it's.
I don't even know if he knew what he was doing.
So
and
weird.
I read that she lost about 40% of the blood in her body. So after Jasmine was murdered, Jason obviously attempted to erase all the evidence from his apartment while also creating a cover-up, taking to social media in order for it to appear that Jasmine was alive and well, that she was spending Thanksgiving with her baby. So he used this time that he was able to, say all is well here to temporarily hide the truth while he attempted to establish an image of an ordinary routine and the aftermath of a horrific, violent event. So after Jasmine's death, it was clear that Jason attempted to erase the evidence from his apartment. It showed extensive cleaning, but blood stains were obviously found throughout his apartment. They had been absorbed into the grooves of the living room, the bathroom floor, as well as the blood spatter on the doors and the bathroom walls. Bedroom furniture, like I had said before, had been moved around to cover a large blood stain under the bed, which was consistent with Jasmine's body having been hidden under the bed after her death and before he disposed of her body. The hallway was also illuminated, like I said. Despite the fact that he just brutally murdered the girl that he had been dating, Jason then took to Tinder and messaged a woman named Victoria at 9:52 a.m. on Wednesday and said, "I guess we're dating now." And as he sent her this message, Jasmine lay dead inside his apartment. Soulless. I mean, what the hell? So later that night, he played Call of Duty online. He was talking with his friends on his headset, and he casually mentioned that he needed to get back to cleaning his apartment. And of course, people are thinking, oh, he likes to have a clean apartment.
Clean guy.
Little do they know that when he's saying this, it's to clean the evidence of a bloodbath. So according to the defense, Jason murdered Jasmine in the heat of passion. And again, I will say these are just the words of the defense. I am not saying that this happened because it most certainly did not. So they were trying to paint a picture that the couple was drinking wine together late into the night, and Jasmine heard a Tinder notification repeatedly chiming from Jason's phone, And once fueled by alcohol, jealousy, and rage, Jasmine began arguing with Jason and eventually attacked him with a now empty wine bottle. And he reacted. He kicked her. She fell backwards. So then the defense alleged that Jasmine chased Jason with a broken wine glass. And with this, he ran to the bathroom and then to the bedroom. And he eventually grabbed a kitchen knife and began stabbing her in self-defense. But then he passed out, blacked out, whatever you want to call it, only to wake to look down and see that Jasmine is unconscious. So he recalls nothing of the stabbing. It just was a frenzy. He blacked out and then she was dead.
Yeah, that's not believable at all. Like after you would stab somebody and you're not a psychopath, like that would be something that would kind of stick with you and be like, oh my God, I just killed somebody. You wouldn't be like, anyways, I'll figure this out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. So jury members were told that the handcuffs had been placed on Jasmine's body post-mortem simply to have her fit inside the suitcase. However, this version of events was ridiculous, and it was easily disproved by solid facts. These are facts that were presented by the medical examiner in his testimony. This completely discredited the defense because it's black and white. Jasmine had a toxicology report. She had not consumed a drop of alcohol that night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that blows everything up.
I mean, it's absurd that they even presented this.
Not that she is, any person's incapable of being angry, but it's like, you said you were drinking wine together and you weren't. So clearly there's lying.
So the defense is saying they were drinking wine and she was fueled by anger on top of the fact that she was drunk. So that in itself is a complete lie.
But the defense is probably like, oh, man, you lied to us about that too, Jason. Nice job, man. You're screwed.
So there was some question if there was any sort of THC in her system, but that could not be proven. So they said that her toxicology report was negative for alcohol and drugs. But based on the location as well as the pattern of her wounds, like I said, according to the medical examiner, she had been in the fetal position when she was stabbed. And because she had no defensive wounds on her right hand, the majority of wounds were to her left side. This indicated that she had been restrained at the time that she was stabbed, rather than post-mortem as the defense was claiming. So that paints a picture that this was premeditated.
Absolutely.
So the prosecution also had much to say about Jason's attorney's alleged version of events. So this is prosecutor Cody Wamp, and he told jury members that the evidence in this case gave a very real picture of the events that led to Jasmine's death. In response to the defense claims that Jasmine flew into a rage based on these Tinder notifications that were coming through Jason's phone, a state expert testified that Jason Chen had not received one single notification from the app that day.
It's like, hey guys, this is 2022. We can figure out when things are actually happening.
This is a complete waste of everyone's time. So because Jasmine's mom entered Jason Chen's apartment multiple times before the police had gotten involved and had a chance to secure and process the scene, there were questions presented during the trial about the integrity of the crime scene.
That's the one downside. When I was saying earlier, it's you might do something illegal and then all of a sudden the defense can be like, hey, this was searched illegally. And it throws that out the court.
And obviously Katrina is saying at the moment that she got inside that apartment, she wasn't thinking about a potential trial.
No, of course.
All she had in her mind is, where is my daughter? I want to find her.
Of course. I don't blame her whatsoever, but the law's the law.
Of course.
So whatever.
So during her visits, Katrina did take some things from the apartment. She took notebooks as well as electronics. This included cell phones and an iPad. And this was all done in a desperate attempt to find her daughter. So with this, the defense called in a crime scene expert to argue how this could have contaminated evidence. But I'm telling you, the evidence in this case was so extensive. Her removing a couple of notebooks and pieces of electronic devices didn't matter because there was blood literally all over this apartment.
Yeah, clearly Katrina didn't bring in her daughter's blood and spray it all over the place. It's like they have to bring it up. They have to.
Right.
But it's like, okay, let's move on.
I get it. But they're also suggesting even the fact that evidence could have been planted.
Right.
How the hell do you plant 40% of a human body's blood?
They're like, and it's possible an elephant flew over as she was doing that too, but we don't have any evidence to say so.
There was even questions that Travis Pace, about his ex-wife's discrepancies and her version of events, basically trying to paint the Pace family as being unreliable when that has nothing to do with this because of all the evidence that's there.
The defense is grasping for straws.
Totally. So the jury also learned that Jason removed the SIM card from Jasmine's phone and put his own into the phone. 2 prints were found also on the garbage bags that were wrapped around Jasmine's body. This was a match to his left ring finger and his left middle finger. Jason Chen chose not to testify in his own defense. So after 6 days of presenting evidence, the jury began their deliberations at 4:15 p.m. They came back with a verdict in less than an hour's time.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think they're going to go with what the defense team is suggesting, that this is just voluntary manslaughter?
Not a chance in hell. I think they got premeditated. I think they're going to put this guy away for the maximum sentence.
Right. So they quickly came back and found Jason Chen guilty of first-degree premeditated murder as well as abuse of a corpse.
Good.
So during the sentencing phase, the jury was given the opportunity to decide if Chen should have the possibility of parole.
God, no.
So in the meantime, using a translator, Jason's mom made an emotional plea, and
Shove it up your wazoo.
what she says, obviously I understand she's a mother, but she says that her son was a very good child who deserved a chance to go home and restart his life.
Nope, he sure doesn't, because he killed somebody.
She also indicated that he knew right from wrong.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, that even proves even more so that he needs to stay in jail forever because he knew that was wrong. So good.
So according to defense attorney Wise, allowing Chen a chance at parole after decades in prison would be a mercy, reflective of our humanity as a whole.
I'd be like, if I'm a juror, I'm just be like, go just sit down and shut up. We're going to put him away forever.
Like, you're actively wasting my time. Please shut up. Because obviously Jasmine will never have an opportunity to restart her life or live her life.
Right.
So meanwhile, in response to all of this, Jasmine's cousin, this is Jacqueline White, she stood with a jar and dropped 60 stones into this jar in order to represent the number of times that Jasmine had been stabbed, while she called Chen a subhuman villain. So the jury was completely undeterred by any of the words spoken about Jason Chen, and just like with their initial deliberation, in less than an hour, their decision was final. It was also unanimous, and they made the decision that Jason Chen should be sent to prison without the possibility of parole.
Terrific.
Hallelujah.
Yep.
So they felt that this crime against sweet Jasmine was especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel, and involved torture and serious physical abuse beyond that necessary to produce death. I mean, it was just horrific what he did.
Yep.
So technology obviously played a large role in solving this tragedy, and it also unveiled a killer's attempts at concealing the unimaginable truth. After Jasmine Pace left her mother's home late Tuesday night, she headed to the home of a man that she had been talking to for months and months, somebody that she trusted. And we don't know why he did what he did. What was the motive? What happened that caused this end result? We will never know. After he viciously murdered her with, again, no clear motive, Jason Chen went on a mission to try to conceal his dark and violent deeds, beginning with these desperate attempts to erase the evidence inside his apartment, ending with him dragging the suitcase with Jasmine's remains and dumping them along the Tennessee River. Thankfully, he took his device with him, and that these investigators were able to locate Jasmine's remains, which allowed Jasmine's family to properly lay her to rest. Because obviously we know there are many cases where a family doesn't ever recover their loved one's remains. It also allowed authorities to piece together exactly what happened to Jasmine. Despite the fact that we didn't have a camera inside his apartment, we can fully deduce what happened, which allowed them to put this monster behind bars and get justice. Jasmine's family cannot imagine the true horrors of what her last moments of life entailed. We know that at 2:11 a.m., the downstairs neighbor was jolted awake by Jasmine's screams, that she was terrified, that she ran in the direction of the front door, and that Jason was chasing just behind her. She desperately tried to open that door and get out of that apartment, but sadly, Jason was close behind and slammed that door. We know that happened because the neighbor, Courtney, heard this happen. And then 7 minutes later, she sent that pin location to her mom, fully aware that her life was in danger. And they can recall the words of this picture happening, and they can only imagine what was going on inside Jasmine's mind.
That poor baby.
I mean, it's just horrific.
It's I mean, she knows, like, she's last glimpse and like sending that pin. It's like, I don't know what situation. Probably she was like, tied up all and like trying to send some kind of a message, and probably didn't have the dexterity to send like a text, "Help me, mom," or whatever. Like, probably had one finger.
Right.
It's like, what can I send? Oh, you hit the plus button on your iPhone, and it's like, what option can I send? Pin. And like, just something that I'm trying to say, help.
Right. And then the words of the medical examiner echo in their heads. And like you were just saying, where the handcuffs were brought in, and how she desperately curled into a fetal position in an attempt to protect herself from a man that she previously trusted, that was standing above her, relentlessly stabbing, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 60 times.
60 is insane. And that was such a good move by the person
Her cousin.
Her cousin, that
Yeah.
like such a, like, just picturing sitting in the courtroom and each stone dropping, like stab, stab, stab. Like 60 is a lot. Like it's a great picture.
Right, just over and over and over again. And now they are left to mourn the loss of a vibrant soul who left this world far too soon. And as Jasmine's dad said, it wasn't just Jasmine that was taken away, it was her future, their grandchildren that they were anticipating eventually happening. All of that is gone. Jasmine Pace will always be remembered as a loyal, hardworking 22-year-old woman who was deeply loved by so many. She had a bright future ahead, and the possibilities were endless. And her family is forever grateful that her remains were recovered, and this allowed sweet Jasmine to be laid to rest. But they will forever be forced to endure the trauma of losing her in such a way for the rest of their lives. And if you are experiencing domestic violence, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. And that is a sad story of the murder of Jasmine Pace.
So absolutely terrible. I mean, I can't get the picture of her in a suitcase out of my head, And I'm sure her parents, and family, very similar. And this scumbag, so he's in jail, obviously.
Forever. The rest of his life.
Good. This guy doesn't deserve another look at the light of day.
But, from my understanding, he didn't have any kind of violent past. He was an active college student studying computer science. What happened?
I wish he would tell us, right? Like, but he's got this, BS story,
right,
unfortunately.
This bullcrap story that he's going to stick with, that he was the one that was attacked, which is nonsense.
Even if it was like, what, you stabbed somebody, no man should ever stab a woman unless she's coming at you trying to stab you, like whatever. It's just like, you push them away and shut the door.
That didn't happen.
Right.
There was no Tinder notification. There was nothing that Jasmine wasn't drunk. She didn't get fueled by rage.
Yeah.
She was attacked.
Right.
But why?
Right.
We'll never know.
Yeah, that sucks. But
I'm just so sorry for the Pace family, and that sweet Jasmine is no longer with us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for telling her story, Allison.
Absolutely.
It's good to remember. And hopefully, if this rings a bell to somebody that's currently being abused, maybe you can get out of that situation. So thank you so much for listening. If you love what we do and want to support us on Patreon or on Apple subscriptions, you are more than welcome. This is your official invitation.
Yes,
go ahead on over.
We will welcome you with open arms.
Right. With arms wide open. Just like under, you were looking at me.
No, I know.
Sky.
Of course I know the song.
You show me everything.
Oh, I heard a little crackage there.
Yeah, it's not good.
Those pipes aren't all ready to go
Yeah,
yet.
they're warmed up a little bit. I'm trying to think of the words. Creed is so good. Creed's one of those bands. Like, I was sitting with a friend like years ago, and he's like, you know what, man? You know what bands are good? Creed and Nickelback. It's like, people don't give them enough credit. I'm like, oh, shut up, man. He's like, no. Like, let's listen to Nickelback right now. I'm like, okay. And like, we were like singing like all the songs. I'm like, yeah, Nickelback's pretty decent. Like, they're a decent rock band.
It's not my cup of coffee.
No, that's okay. But
that's all right.
Yeah, thank you for listening. There's free trials available on both Patreon and Apple subscriptions. So I think one's a week, one's 3 days. If you become a Patreon or an Apple subscriber, you get access, depending on your level, to over 100 different bonus episodes. So if you like what we do, this is a great opportunity to go ahead and get yourself some new bonus episodes.
Absolutely. But we thank you just for being here, for supporting us. If you like what we do, we would appreciate a 5-star review, and maybe even hop on over to YouTube and check us out and subscribe subscribe.
And whatever you're listening to us right now, just go subscribe to our podcast so you get notification for the next one. Because I find a podcast sometimes, I'm like, oh, cool, that's a good episode, and I forget to subscribe. And it's like, oh, what was the name of that podcast? The name of this podcast is Crime and Coffee Couple.
Okay, I was going to say, let's make sure we get that right.
Yeah, Crime and Coffee Couple is what it
Mike
is.
just gets excited.
I do.
And then I know you're going to be bummed that you didn't get those lyrics right.
Yeah, I am.
Thumbs wide open.
Under a blue sky.
Yeah, it's just not going to work.
Somebody tell me what the rest
sorry,
is.
Mike.
Yeah,
It's okay.
Well, show me everything.
I still love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Well, on that note, we appreciate you guys. Stay safe, be well, and until next time.